Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be building a concrete slab underneath our covered porch here. Now I'm going to be using only bags of concrete, so I want to check out how many you can do at one time. So stick around and I'll show you how to do this, as well as planning how many bags you need for your concrete slab. Alright, so this is a section that I'm working with. When I first bought the place, this was nothing but dirt and mud under here. So I've gone through about a year ago, dug it down about 6 to 8 inches and put gravel down underneath. That kept it a lot cleaner back here, but I want to dig down even farther before I pour a 4-inch slab on top. I won't be able to walk under here without hitting my head. So I'm going to dig down about 1.5 feet at the tallest point, and I'll level this all out with my tractor before I come in to put in a 4-inch slab. Now you can see all the gravel I spread out there earlier, I just raked off to the side because I'm going to be using that as the base for my concrete slabs. So I'm going to put that back in once I dig this down far enough. Now, as I'm going through this process, I'm going to be explaining a lot, so if you found this video helpful at all, hit that like button down below. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave that in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Now, the box blade on the tractor worked really well to pull this dirt out of here, but it doesn't get all the way up to the edge. So I'm going to need a pickaxe and shovel and do the rest by hand because it can't get in these tight areas. Now, I've gotten down about 1.5 feet in that corner where it's at the tallest point. So I'm going to now put back in 2 to 3 inches of gravel over top of everything. That'll give me a nice solid base for my concrete slabs to go down on top. Now, as I'm going along, you may notice I keep taking out my level with a board underneath. I'm constantly checking to make sure I'm grading this away from the house. It's really important when you're pouring a slab like this that all this water that rains down on top of this is not going to soak into the ground anymore. It's going to run off of the slab and it's going to go somewhere. So at the very least, you want your slab to be perfectly level or sloping away from your house or doorway or whatever. You don't want your water running straight towards the house, building up and causing some issues with a lot of water getting near the house. Now I've got everything graded out now and I'm ready to start building the forms. I'm just going to quickly make sure that everything's square, I have all the right measurements for the forms, and that this will turn out looking great. So the slab is going to be 14 foot by 10 foot. I'm going to actually, because I'm pouring this with bagged cement, I'm going to split this in half and do 2 separate pours. I'm planning to do them both back to back, but in case this starts hardening before I can get to the second one, at least I've split it down the middle. And especially if this is on a really hot day, the concrete's going to set up and dry out a lot quicker. So splitting up a pour like this is going to be really important. Now, once you start building these forms, it's really important to pay attention to level. Again, even though you've already graded out the dirt, you might have been off slightly, so it's always good to double check, make sure everything's looking good as you're building this, because this is not just a guide for the perimeter of your concrete slab, this is also a guide for what elevation and height the slab is going to be at. So you want to make sure that you get this all exactly right, because once you start pouring the concrete and leveling it out, Those are your guiding marks for the slab itself, so it's really important to get it right. Now I'm going to take some gravel and I'm backfilling around the forms. This will do a couple things. It will strengthen up the form, make sure it's not going to go anywhere, but it also keeps the concrete from flowing underneath the forms. If there's any parts that are low, concrete can tend to flow where you don't want it to go if it's open. So make sure that that's filled in, and I'll also level out any sections that seem a little low as well once I'm done building the forms. Now, I also mentioned that I'm going to be splitting this into 2 separate pours in case I need to do it. If the first pour starts hardening before I have time to smooth it out, I can stop there and finish that up. So I'm going to put 1 divider down the middle, split this into 2 equal parts, and that will look really nice. Now, before I even started this project, I went in, calculated how many bags of concrete I'm gonna need, planned everything out before I even started. If you don't know how to do this, it's super easy. If you just Google concrete calculator, there's tons of options that you can click on and check this out. It's really easy and free to do. You just put in the thickness of your concrete, what dimensions you want in feet or inches. So mine's 14 by 10 foot, and then hit calculate, and it will tell you exactly how many bags of concrete you're going to need. Now, I've already gone to the store and picked up the bags of concrete. Took 3 trips with my truck to get all of them here. It's going to take just over 100 bags of concrete for the 60-pound bags. Now, I've noticed that for some reason, the 60-pound bags of concrete, when added up, are cheaper than the 80-pound bags of concrete. That's why I went with the 60 instead of 80. Also, if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, they have a bulk price that if you get over a certain amount, you get a discount off. So I actually got 20% off of these because I purchased over 56 bags, which worked out really well. Now, the cement mixer I'm using is electric cobalt cement mixer, and it works really well. I've used it for quite a few pours now, and I actually bought this on Marketplace. So I don't know how long this has been used, but it's still going strong, works great. I believe you can get this at Lowe's if you're interested. Now, this cement mixer can fit 2 60-pound bags. I tried 3, it worked, but I'm feeling a little more comfortable with 2. I don't want to overdo it with my mixer. So 2 is fine. That means I have to load this up 50 times to do both of these pours. Now, if you notice, I sprayed down the gravel where I'm going to be putting the concrete slab with a hose, make sure that it was nice and wet before I start pouring, because the concrete will actually get sucked right into all that gravel and dirt, and it will suck the moisture out of it. Before I have a chance to even spread this out, it will start hardening up on me. So I wet that down, and I'm also mixing the concrete a little more runny than I normally would, just because I have so many bags to go through before I'm done with this slab. Now, if at all possible, this would be much easier if you have 2 people. That's what I would definitely suggest. I'm trying to go as fast as I can to make sure that this doesn't harden in time. And having 2 people make it a lot easier. You'd have to lift half as many bags, and you can save time by someone filling up the mixer and mixing while the other person spreading out the concrete. It would just go a lot smoother. And I'm doing over 100 bags. It'll be close to 102 once I'm done, and that is just a lot of lifting and moving around. That's over 6,000 pounds of concrete, so it's a lot to do in one day. I would recommend, if this is your first time, doing a couple smaller pours and building yourself up to it before you just jump into a huge project like this. Now, a couple tips to help the process go a little bit smoother. Using a sharp object to open these bags is a lot better than trying to peel it open with your hands. So I'm just using a old unwanted kitchen knife that we don't care about anymore. And this basically will destroy whatever blade you use. So don't use something nice. I'm just using this old junky kitchen knife. Now, the next one is mix 2 bags at a time. If your cement mixer has the capacity to do so, that saves a lot of time walking back and forth, a lot of extra work, and saving a lot of steps. Now, this last one saves by far the most time out of all of them. If you're filling the mixer up with a hose, it takes a long time to sit there waiting for it to fill up enough water. So I actually set the hose on auto so that it's spraying out a little bit at a time, and I left that in a bucket. So it's actually spaced out perfectly to where it's just barely fills up the bucket when I need it, and that's just the right amount for 2 bags of concrete, so it goes really quick. Once I'm done, I'll just put the hose back in the bucket and then keep mixing concrete. Now, the best way to level out a concrete slab like this is to use a 2x4 going across. And you'll want it long enough to reach the full distance of your form. If you have 2 people, this is definitely by far the best, because you can slide that 2x4 back and forth, probably 6 inches back and forth, and that actually wiggles the rocks down into the slab and pulls all the sand and smooth stuff up at the top. So later on, it'll be a lot easier to smooth out your concrete slab once it starts drying out. Next, I'm going to take my bowl float and I'm going to smooth this out just real quickly. Not going to spend a ton of time on it. It definitely needs to set up a lot more before I can finish smoothing that out. So next, I'm going to start on the other slab here. I'm going to wet down the gravel again, same exact steps as before, and just start pouring in the concrete. 50 more bags to finish this one off. Now I finally finished mixing all the cement, screeded that second side with the 2x4, and I'm going to come in with a bowl float and smooth this out a little bit. And now I need to just wait for it to set up before I can finish trowel it. Now I'm also going to take the edger and go around this. It's not finished yet. I need to come back with the edger later on, but this just pushes the gravel away from the form so that I can fit this in later to smooth it out. Now, a fun thing to do with your kids is let them put their footprints in the concrete slab. This is a really fun way to date the slab as well, so that you know when you put this in, but also as they grow up, they get to see how their feet have changed and how much they've grown. It's a lot of fun for them, so if you have kids, that's something you might enjoy doing. Now the slab has almost set up completely. It's just still a little soft on the top, so I'm going to come back with a magnesium trowel and smooth out all around the edges, and then also come in with a bowl float and finish smoothing that out as well. Now this has been 3 days since I've poured the concrete slab, and it's now just able to take the forms off. I wouldn't recommend taking off the forms much earlier than this, because the concrete still is soft, or green they would call it, that this is very brittle. You don't want to cause any damage while it's still hardening. So I'm going to take this off carefully. Once it's about 2 to 3 days, you can start walking on top of it, but I wouldn't put any weight. If this is your driveway and you're going to park a car on it, I'd wait at least 5 to 7 days before driving your car on it. Alright, that just about finishes up the video for today. You can see there's still a little bit of discoloration on the slab, and that's because it's still green, it's still curing, it hasn't dried out completely. So once that has dried out, this will all be a uniform gray all the way across, light gray like that first one in the front. The back one didn't get as much sun shining on it, so that's why it's still a little wet and needs to dry out a little more. Now I'm planning on doing the other half of this patio under the porch there at a later date. In that video, I'm planning on covering different stuff, so it's not just a repeat. I'll try to cover more on how to grade this away from the house, what I'm doing with the forms, how to build the forms, the best way to do that, and also other tips and tricks that I forgot in this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that like button down below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and leave any comments, suggestions, questions you have down in the comment section below. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.